Marwan, I think we've had time now to digest the news. We've had the initial reactions. What do you make of what's unfolded so far? The reactions from the Israelis, from the region, and also the Europeans, including Borrell, saying that the ICC's decision must be respected and implemented. What does this suggest to you about how this might go?
There's no doubt that Josep Borrell has come a long way, and he can be easily contrasted with the Secretary of State of the United States, in the sense that Borrell represents the European Union's foreign policy, and his position on the genocide in Palestine and Israel's war crimes in Palestine are quite extraordinary in comparison to those of the American officials. But a quick reminder relating to this very particular decision, this monumental decision in this extraordinary day by the ICC, is that Josep Borrell was one of the earliest officials in the world to underline that that Gaza was indeed living famine, that it was in fact being starved by Israel. And he said, this is not imminent, this is the present. So the highest authority for foreign policy by the European Union already recognized several months ago that Israel was using hunger as a weapon of war. It was, as it were, weaponizing hunger. So it's important that the European Union, in contrast to the United States, or in parallel, or as a weighing factor, comes out with such clear statements about the importance of this decision today. That doesn't mean, Paulie, and again, we really must emphasize that again and again, this doesn't mean that tomorrow the hunger is going to be fed in Gaza. It doesn't mean that the orphans are going to, re-find their parents. It doesn't mean that the homeless are going to find shelter or back to their homes. It doesn't mean none of that, at least not in the short term. What it means is that the Palestinians, and anyone who knows the Palestinians well and their history of really tragic history of suffering, know that it's not just the suffering that counts for the Palestinians. It's the honor, it's the recognition of their catastrophe, of their tragedy that's been unfolding for 70 years. So what the Palestinians expect from the world, and that's why I would expect them, at least internally, suffering as they are, to be celebrating this moment, because it's a moment of truth, that at least the Palestinians are being recognized for the victims that they are, and their tormentors are being indicted for the criminals that they are.
Now, Marwan, in contrast to the European reaction, which, as we've said, Borrell calling for the court's decision to be implemented and respected, we have a very different reaction from the United States, from a number of senators. Lindsey Graham, for example, calling this decision absurd and irresponsible, saying the courts, the ICC, is a dangerous joke. Senator Chuck Schumer saying that there needs to be a bipartisan legislation that comes from the House sanctioning the ICC for such outrage, and that President Biden must sign it. Not a surprising reaction coming from the US, and there will be, I guess, repercussions, but certainly not a good look for the United States, which has backed Israel throughout this conflict and prior to it.
Let's use this Lindsey Graham as an example, right? I mean, he's a person who, for a good time now, has basically advised Israel to nuke this and that, right, including Gaza. I mean, whether he said it lightheartedly or seriously, or whether he's just the usual, warmonger that he is. But clearly there is a sense that when it comes to Israel, there's a good portion of the Republican Party and certainly some of the Democrats that are willing to go all the way in justifying Israel's war crimes. They don't recognize that Israel has taken them to the abyss, that Israel, in fact, has implicated them in genocide, in war crimes. They don't recognize that. So they just continue to defend Israel, because by defending Israel, they are defending themselves. Because the world looks and the world sees and the world continues to watch. And they watch as Israel carries those crimes with the unconditional support of the United States. Both houses of Congress and both sides of the aisle, as it were, Republican and Democrats, have supported, have clapped for Netanyahu as he came to Congress to speak for the fourth time after the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has called for his indictment. So really, the United States, once again, not the United States, the U.S. government,
right,
the Biden administration in particular, and certainly the leadership of Democrats and Republicans have been implicated in this genocide by providing diplomatic shield, by providing the funds, billions upon billions of dollars, by providing the arms to Israel in order to carry its war crimes against the Palestinians.
Right.
So they are cornered now. There's nothing else they can do but be vicious and to be aggressive towards the UN World Court, which is really a shame because this, once again, will eat away from their credibility, just as it does from whatever's left of Western credibility on the question of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
They treat Russia and Ukraine one way, but they treat Israel in Palestine in a whole other way.
And just to clarify the quote from Senator Lindsey Graham earlier, he was calling on Senator Chuck Schumer to pass bipartisan legislation to sanction the ICC for what he called this outrage. Just one more on the United States, Marwan. There are those who will see this as another nail in the coffin of President Biden's legacy. He's been an unconditional supporter of Israel. What will this mean for him? And you know, what about the incoming Trump administration? How will they be reacting to this, you think?
I tell you, this was a truly tragic ordeal watching Joe Biden, the so-called Andrew Jackson, or rather the Jacksonian Democrat, not Andrew Jackson, the Jacksonian Democrat who would, in every possible way, take on an imperialist approach to world affairs, whether they are in Europe, in Asia, or in the Middle East, and really provide the kind of unconditional support to Israel. Since he landed in Israel back in October 17, 2003, gave Netanyahu the bear hug and said, go get justice. The hell does go get justice mean other than take your revenge against the Palestinian people, especially when the Israeli officials were saying these are human animals, as you stated earlier in one of your questions to one of your guests. They said openly, intentionally, deliberately that they were going to cut the fuel, the food, and so on and so forth from the people of Gaza. And they went on and carried their genocide as we've known. That's why the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, is looking into genocide. That's why the ICC are looking into war, crimes against humanity and the weaponizing of hunger. Now, the weaponizing of hunger is unlike what a couple of your earlier guests have stated. This is not like other accusations that could have been landed against Israel. The weaponization of hunger has nothing to do with self-defense, right? That's why the choice of weaponization of hunger by the prosecutor is so important. He's not saying you killed 40,000 civilians, just like, I don't know, the Allies bombed Dresden. He is saying while you were fighting your war, regardless whether it's justified or not, you deliberately starved the people of Gaza. You deliberately starved the people of Gaza while you were conducting your war. Why are you starving the people of Gaza? Why are you cutting aid, food, and medicine to the people of Gaza while you are carrying your war? So I think there's a very important distinction here to be made, that this very particular accusation, I think, will stand tall against the leaders of Israel. The weaponizing of hunger against 2 million Palestinians, not only destroying their houses, not only killing parents and children, not only destroying schools and universities and medical centers and hospitals, starving the people. That sadistic, deliberate policy of starving the people, using starvation as a weapon of war, that's where the Israelis stand accused. And that's why this is very important, and that's why it's going to be very difficult for the likes of Gallant to show up in the court to say this is self-defense. You can't starve other people in self-defense. This is a war crime. It's a crime against humanity. It's sadistic, inhumane, and immoral.
Thank you very much.
Illegal.
Thank you, Marwan, for your analysis. As always, we'll come back to you, of course, throughout the day here on Al Jazeera as we continue to analyze and bring you reaction to this breaking news story of the ICC issuing arrest warrants for Israel's leaders and Hamas leader Mohammed Deif.